Hi there, my name is Joanne Christopherson. I'm really excited to be giving you this presentation today. Of course, it's always more fun to actually be in the classroom and interacting. You'll be learning about a lot of topics in Global Connect this year, and certainly technology is a big part of that with all of the changes that are going on and how technology is driving so many of them. In 1960s, computers were huge. They filled entire rooms, and we didn't have anything even close to personal computers or desktops, certainly nothing that you could put in a pocket. So this is basically, these computers are about as big as a closet, and there would be rooms full of them. At UC Irvine, this is the engineering building. It was built in 1965. And if you look on the side, you can see that there are 6 panels there, and those are actually doors. And they would have to bring a crane to lift the computers to put them into the building. That's how big and heavy the computers were. And those doors would open up, and they'd be able to put the computers on all 6 of those floors. Now, the World Wide Web started you saw in the 1960s, but prior to 1990, the web was mainly used by universities and the military in conjunction for research on defense. Around the 1990s, we had a development of email, but we didn't have good user-friendly browsers. We had a browser called Gopher. Now, you know what gophers are. They burrow around underground in mazes, and that's what it was like to surf the web back then. It was just a big maze, and you needed to know the words and everything. Then Microsoft developed Mosaic, which led to a product called Netscape, and then Microsoft developed Internet Explorer and some more browsers. Eventually, we had Lycos, Yahoo, Alta Vista. Alta Vista was a very big browser at the time. Academics used it a lot. We used it a lot at the universities. And then comes Google, 2001, becomes the most popular browser, and it's been very hard to cut into their market ever since. But actually, we were using the internet for email before we were actually using it for the World Wide Web. Now, we have internet users worldwide. Surprisingly, United States is not the biggest user of the internet. Asia has almost half the market. Europe, 23%, and North America. And then Latin America, Africa, Middle East, Oceania comprise the rest. And these are developing countries. And the focus of our talk today is going to be about technology in the developing countries. So here in Africa, we see some students here on computers, and those green computers, I'll talk to you a few minutes about what those are. And Eastern Europe, we have students here on computers. South America, I like that little kid there on the left, he's kind of cute. Nepal and Madagascar, look over there at Nepal, and you can see, you think to yourself about bringing technology here to this community and all of the problems that we would have with that. And here these kids are holding up their green computers, their laptops. Afghanistan, Laos, and we're here 2 students, they're sharing a computer. Now, here's some enterprising students with a mobile internet cafe in India, and here's some people lined up to log on to some websites. Well, what websites do you think they might be logging on to? Here are some of the world's most popular sites: Facebook, YouTube, Wikipedia. Of course, Twitter now is making inroads into this, but still half the population of the world is visiting Facebook, and half the population visiting YouTube. But which parts of the world do these percentages come from? Facebook users, yes. The biggest demographic for Facebook users are the students that are the same age as your teachers for this class, college students, 37%. Your group comprises about 10%, but the second biggest demographic is, oh, how about this, your parents. So I want to take just a minute. This is actually kind of fun. I want to take just a minute here. We'll stop the tape a moment. And I want you to raise your hand if your parents are on Facebook, and turn around and see how many of the people in your class have students on Facebook, have parents on Facebook. And then I'd like you to raise your hands if you're on Facebook. Good. Okay, so, and also now we see seniors, very small demographic of seniors, but as your parents get older and older, those demographics will get bigger. So right now, the biggest demographic, college students and your parents. We can see the Facebook population is huge. 2 countries, China and India, have populations greater than Facebook. Facebook is a huge force in technology with all the connections, people connecting with each other, keeping events fresh, keeping people up to date. Where are we on Facebook? Well, as expected, the Asia-Pacific area have the highest rates of internet use, Europe, North America, Latin America, and again, the Middle East and Africa. 80% of Facebook users are outside of the United States. Asia and Europe, internet is growing faster at faster rates than in the US. Now, Facebook is developing a language translator so that they do not need a separate site for each country. Here's a little fun stuff before we get down to business today. 20% of 18 to 34-year-olds now, these are college students and young adults, check Facebook right when they wake up. 30% check their Facebooks before they're even out of bed. Facebook was the most searched term in 2012 for the third year running. And people spend over 700 billion minutes a month on Facebook. So if you think you don't have time to do your homework, you need to log out of Facebook. Get back to work. All right, now this is actually a joke, but unfortunately it's more true than we know. If you ever take a look at people's Facebooks, when we get into an emergency, the first thing we do is update our Facebook status, update Twitter, get our camera phone out to record it, and then we'll call 911. And they have more funny things, but this was the best one they had. Now, YouTube is amazing. 32 hours of video footage uploaded every minute, and you're going to be part of that. At the end of Global Connect, you'll be recording your own YouTube and uploading your own videos with your groups. YouTube has more material on it than 3 major US networks did in 60 years. And each week, over 100,000 full-length feature films uploads, the equivalent of that, every week. YouTube is amazing. Who is on YouTube? Well, as expected, teenagers, of course, and then age 20 to 35. Half of the market on YouTube is people college age and young adult, age 36 to 60, and even seniors are on YouTube. My dad's 95 years old. He watches golf lessons on YouTube. He loves it. Music videos, the most popular upload, but for users age 36 and older, the most popular uploads are news and political videos. So the statistics for viewers is interesting, but so is the upload. So who uploads to YouTube? Well, in North America, mainly news, political content with topics of health, global warming, healthcare. In Europe, mainly music videos. Third world countries, we're not getting much uploads there. In fact, it has been banned in China, Libya, Iran, and this last year, YouTube was banned in Pakistan. The digital revolution since the 1980s, well, we saw those huge computers, but about the 1980s, we started really having a lot of improvements in technology. It became cheaper, more accessible. It was easier for all of us to use. And so we have this digital revolution, changes in technology from analog, mechanical, like a clock where you see the face, the hands, to electronic where you would see a digital. Now we have records changing to iPods. We've had sweeping changes in the last 50 years due to digital computing. And this has led to the digital divide. Now, the digital divide is a gap. It's a gap between people who are able to use technology and are using technology and those who are not. Now, some can't take advantage of this technology because they have lack of access, they don't have computers, or they have lack of money, so they can't acquire them. And these separations are due to few factors. One of them is age, of course. We saw that there was a big difference in internet use and Facebook use between teenagers and young adults and seniors. So that makes it hard for us to deliver information that seniors would need on computers because they're just not accessing them. We have ethnic differences in ethnicity. Whites and Asians are much more frequent users of the internet and have computers than minorities, Hispanics particularly. Urban and rural communities don't always have the internet access that we need. Certainly socioeconomic status creates a divide, and also geographic region. And that's what we'll be talking about for the rest of this presentation, is we'll be talking about the digital divide between first world countries and third world countries. Yep. And we want to think about ways to close this digital divide geographically so that maybe we are able to get computers into the hands of people in third world countries. People are very concerned that third world countries may be excluded from this digital revolution. There's financial problems for purchasing and maintaining expensive equipment, training instructors and users, and there's also some psychological issues. Some societies may fear science and technology and might not feel comfortable about using them on a large scale. Now, several groups have put together some programs to get computers to children in third world countries. And we think about this, can we just get a U-Haul truck and load a bunch of computers on it and go over there to the borders and say, we have some computers for you, take us to your Minister of Education. Well, Cornell, Computer Reuse Association out of Cornell University, tried just that. They took some outdated computers from their libraries, they cleaned and reformatted all the hard drives to take all the information off of them. They didn't want to have any Cornell University information left on them. They load them up, they take them to Afghanistan, and Afghanistan officials say, we don't want your computers, we don't know what's on them. And they said, no, we cleaned them up. And they said, we don't want your computers. So they eventually had to set up meetings with the Minister of Education, and eventually they were able to give them the computers. But it wasn't as simple as we think. There's some other projects to get computers to other countries who may not have the financial resources to buy them. And one of them, the one at the very bottom, OLPC, one laptop per child. I'd like to talk to you about that project. That's the program that makes those green laptops that you saw in those pictures we had earlier. The goal of one laptop per child is to get computers in the hands of children in third world countries. Their goal is to put 1 billion computers into hands of children aged 6 to 16. They're producing about 400,000 a month. They've tested them in several countries, and the cost of it is $209. And they are now developing a new tablet version that's around $100. So how can I get a $209 computer? Well, you can't get them except on eBay. But one of the ways that they're able to do this is that Microsoft produces a very low-cost operating system. The original computers, the operating system was only $3. Intel produced a very low-cost processor, although somebody else actually does this now. They use open-source software that is available for free. And it's also, those computers are really designed for social computing. They're really not designed to do businesses or to do homework or things like that. They're really designed for connecting. And so they have games, and they all have a video camera. Very cool. So here is the laptop, and I want to talk to you a bit about it, but I want to move ahead to another slide first before we come back to that one. So let's step ahead to the next slide. We think about third world countries, and one of the things we want to think about is power. How are we going to deliver these computers? Some areas don't have running water or electricity. How do we get computers to them? And some schools are conducted outside. Have you ever tried to use your phone or a computer outside? You can't even see the screen. So we have to address those issues. So let's move to the next slide to see how we could solve that. Two solutions. Of course, one of them that comes to mind is the sun. Of course, solar energy, but not all countries have sun all the time, and so we have to have an alternate one. And the one that you see on the other side there is a hand crank, and they have a generator in the computer where they can crank it for 10 minutes, and then they can use the computer for an hour. And sometimes I've seen in some of their films and demos, they have one student cranking and the other one's working on the computer. So these are some solutions they have. So let's go back 2 slides now, back to out of the box. Let's go take a look at that one. Here we go. All right, so here we are with the EXO laptop. And one of the ways they've been able to make this inexpensive and usable is that they have a backlit display so that the computers can be used outside in the sun. They also do not have a hard drive. Everything is done with flash drives, and so they don't have to deal with the hardware or the technical problems of the of a hard drive. They have low power and low wattage, less than a light bulb, and so they've kept the technology very limited and very low. But again, they have a camera, they have a networking capability, they're on the internet. So how would children use these computers in third world countries? And there's 4 ways they would use them. So let's stop a moment and think about ways that children would use these computers. Now, we're talking about coming into a foreign country, a third world country, and saying, we have some computers for you, and we want to have your children using these. And the first question might be, what would they use them for? So let's take a moment and think about that. So there's 4 ways the students would use these computers, and the first one, for social reasons, of course, they would use it to connect with other children on Facebook. Vocational reasons, where they would be using it to study for certifications for jobs or to get some job training. Pedagogical, which would be for teaching, and this one we would use it in a classroom setting. And catalytic, which is basically a catalyst, is something that causes change. And so we would use it in order to sort of improve and boost knowledge and critical thinking. So let's go to the first one, which is social reasons for computers in third world countries. Now, the first thing that is important to think about computers is to demystify computers. We want students to not be afraid of them. We want them to learn to use computers, and this is important to a student's place in society. Now, the advantages of this is that they don't need any proficiency exams like you would for a vocational. It all involves hands-on experience. We don't really need teachers to accompany these computers. We basically are just showing them the computers and letting them connect with other people. Vocational reasons. Now, this is always one of the first answers students propose, is thinking about applying for jobs, gaining certification, getting training, taking classes, and this would lay a foundation for a career. So this is a very important reason to get computers over to third world countries, would be to improve their opportunities for work. Computers are important for jobs and school, and so this would be a great aid for that. Now, in a disadvantage, they would need to prepare for an exam, so they would have to get some proficiency in the subject matter, and we might need qualified teachers to help them with the materials and go through. So we aren't just handing them computers, we actually need to accompany it now with some teachers and some additional materials. Pedagogical reasons. Now, this one is really obvious for accompanying their education in school. We would use them in the classrooms, or they might have some computer labs, or they might use it for their homework. They learn subjects better with computer-assisted learning. For instance, physics, history, geography, students do much better learning material when they have the visuals and they can learn it on their own. A disadvantage, of course, for this is now we have to be sure we provide highly qualified teachers along with the computers in order to provide this. And the last one, catalytic reasons. Now remember, a catalyst is a change agent, and these computers then, this would enable students to really boost their knowledge. They would do less memorizing of facts, more information handling, problem solving, and something really important, learning by collaborating. And these basically not only improve their knowledge, but it helps mature the students. Now the advantages are the teachers can adopt more relevant lessons because students can be learning some of their basics on the computers, and then they can be problem solving with their classmates. We have more educational opportunities to more students, and school administration can be improved as well. Well, we do run into some barriers. So now we've got our U-Haul full of computers, and we're over at the border, and we're talking to the Minister of Education, and we're saying, here's 4 things that we can do with these computers. They'll be so helpful, but we still run into barriers. Now, there are concerns countries would have, the Minister of Education certainly, on whether they should accept donations of computers. Number one, are they just getting a bunch of obsolete hardware? Are they just getting e-waste? Well, Cornell was bringing in outdated computers. You know, computer systems become obsolete. Manufacturers no longer support them. So this is a main concern. We don't want to just be sending old computers over that we don't want anymore. Now, the one laptop per child has developed computers specifically for third world countries, so that solves that issue. Also, training for teachers. This is very important. Who's going to teach these people if we just take them over and drop them off in a classroom? Are they just going to sit in a closet because nobody knows how to install them, nobody knows how to get everybody engaged in it? And we also have to teach the teachers how to use them. We also, a country is going to need to dedicate some funds for support, for training, for upgrading, for maintaining them. So they're going to have some tech support costs, and they have to think about how they're going to handle that. And are the schools ready for the computers? They really need to spend some time deciding ahead of time how they're going to use them, how they're going to have, what policies they're going to have, how many. Is it going to be in a separate lab? Are the kids going to get to take them home? Will they have them in the libraries? And what are they going to be using them for? So these are barriers that we have to address. We have to think about this, do some planning ahead of time. We can't just ship a bunch of computers. And of course, when we bring computers in, we're going to impact the culture. And this is a big concern to countries. As we saw, some of them have even banned internet and YouTube use. but we're going to be impacting the culture. Certainly the media that's available over computer is going to impact the culture. Films available on YouTube and other sites, MTV, television, internet communications, they're all going to have access to these. There's a dominance of English. This is a problem for some countries. Also, you know, it touches on cultural values. If they're bringing in cultural values from other countries into their country, they're going to be exposing them to these things. We have cultural symbols, local versus global, and are we going to be sort of homogenizing these things? Are we going to be diluting their own local culture in favor of these global things that come in from other countries? And the idea of disseminating knowledge versus information. And we really want to think about rather than just giving people a lot of information, we really want to give them knowledge. And so we have to think about these things as well, that when we bring computers into third world countries, we're impacting their culture. We have to be sensitive to that. So we finalize here about our concerns about bringing technology to third world countries. Will technology expand their knowledge, or is it going to shape it? Are they going to learn more? Are they going to lose something they've already had? Are they going to miss something they would have had otherwise locally? Will the local values now be overwritten by global values? And what determines the digital information crossing the borders? Does the Minister of Education decide that? Do the political leaders decide that? Do schools decide that? Do the citizens decide what information comes in? And who benefits from the globalization of technology? Does Microsoft benefit? Intel benefit? The manufacturers? Is the first world benefiting from all of this technology now, and the third world countries are not getting the benefit of that? They're just getting the information. So maybe we need to think about not just importing the computers to them, but maybe the knowledge of how to make them, thinking about that. Will citizens have input into their country's policies about technological advances, or are they just going to be allowed to have what people think is okay? And the last thing is the United States dominating this. Are they dominating this digital revolution? Now, these are all things you're going to be hearing about in your Global Connect classes. You're going to be hearing about the connection, this worldwide community we're building, and we have to really think sensitively about bringing our technology into this, and what part is technology going to play in all of this. Of course, we're delivering this presentation with technology, but you want to think again about what it is we're bringing in. Are we bringing in just computers, or are we bringing in global values? Are we bringing in some dominance? Are we bringing in some messages? We have to be really careful about that. So that's the subject of the rest of all your Global Connect. Well, thank you so much for letting me visit with you, even though it's digitally, just like we've been talking about today. Global Connect is a wonderful program. I'm a big fan of Global Connect, and I really am privileged to be involved in it. I hope you have a really great year. I'm going to see all your YouTube videos at the end of the year, and we'll have a lot of fun at the final presentations. So thank you very much.